Good morning, Ben. I'm Sarah Peacock, and I'm here with the current chairman of the Charolais Cattle Society. Ben has been chairman for the past 2 years, and he'll be handing over the reins to Alan Drysdale in June this year. Now, Ben, I know you currently farm in Buckinghamshire. Perhaps you can just tell us a little bit about your setup there.
Sarah, my family have been farming this bit of land since about 1905. My great-grandfather started it off. My grandfather, who was the main driver of the farm, because my great-grandfather was really a businessman, he was the first man to bring the Charolais into the UK, and we've been Charolais enthusiasts here ever since. Our farm about 650 acres on the Chiltern Hills. It's pretty marginal land. We farm arable. We've got the cattle, and I do a couple of other bits and bobs to try and make ends meet as well. But really, it's just me and a little help from my 80-year-old dad, and we get busy.
And tell us a little bit about the cattle you've got there. How many Charolais are you running there?
I very fortunately was given an opportunity to sell quite a lot of my breeding cattle last year to an up-and-coming breeder. So right now I'm at about 100 head. That gives me 38 cows, of which about 30 are purebred Charolais, and the other 8 would be crossbreds.
And I know you've recently been working on using Wagyu semen on your cows. Tell us the story behind that.
Well, yes, you're quite right, Sarah. Now, I cross and have been for a while Charolais, my Charolais heifers, and I put Wagyu semen in. And the Charolais Wagyu cross, obviously, I call a Shagyu, and I sell meat under my Shagyu brand. I've been doing that. It really started for my own belly, because I'm a big meat eater, and I wanted to just play around and try and find a slightly more marbled meat if I could. And the beauty of the Shagyu thing for me is that it takes the strengths of the Charolais, which is these wonderful framed, fast-growing, meaty cattle, and crosses it with this rather peculiar-looking creature that is the Wagyu, it looks much more like a dairy cow than a beef cow in their conformation, but obviously they have this huge amount in marbling. The combination of the two gives me just the right level of marbling to please my customers. I couldn't sell the pure Wagyu meat that you see sometimes in videos to my customer base. It's not what they're after. What they're after is a good looking bit of meat with a bit of marbling in it, rather than a lot of marbling with a little bit of meat in it, which is sometimes how you could perceive the pure Wagyu stuff. So it's a small but important part of the business, and something I enjoy a great deal.
What about the Provenance? How important is that as a brand to be able to sell to your customers?
Really, the Provenance is everything with the brand. So having a kind of fun name is great for grabbing people's attention, but to get the repeat business, what people want to know is where the meat's coming from, how the animals are being treated. They want to know that it's grass-fed, that it's antibiotic-free, and that it's local. So I don't tend to sell outside my area, and nor do I need to. I'm very fortunate being on the edge of London where I am, with I think 8 of the 10 country's most expensive postcodes are within about a 40-minute drive of where I am, something along those lines. So I've got high-value customers on my doorstep, and the local part of it is such a huge part of what I do.
When you're looking at your own Charolais, what are the key things that you're selecting for today?
I've had a focus on my entire time. I've been doing the Charolais. I took over from my dad about 25 years ago. And my focus has been throughout on a type of Charolais that looks after itself. I want them to work for me, not the other way around. So I like to choose functional cattle. They've got to be great on their feet. They've got to have a lot of milk. That's hugely important to me. And the focus on easy calving is paramount, especially in this area. I feel strongly that there is no perfect animal, and what's really important for all of us is to know what our market is and to make sure that we're supplying the right sort of animals to the market that we're looking at. In this part of the country, I'm very fortunate. I sell the majority of my bulls off farm, and in this part of the country, what my customers are looking for is a very good natured bull. Temperament is a really important part of what we do here, but also an easy calving bull. And the way that we're achieving that really is through looking at short gestation length. If you consider that towards the end of the gestation, a calf might be growing as quickly as half a kilo a day. If you can have a gestation length that is maybe 5 days short versus one that's maybe 5 days long, that could be a 5 kilo difference in the weight of the animal. So easy calving, you can maintain the structure of the females through careful selection, but also by looking at easy calving, not for looking just at narrow and narrow animals, but looking for shorter and shorter gestation lengths.
Yeah, some good points, I think, there, Ben. Now, if we look back at your 2 years of chairmanship of the society, what are the high spots that you've had in these 2 years?
This last couple of years hasn't turned out how any of us expected. I think we could say that for sure. I'd look forward to someday being the chairman of the society. Since I came on council, and it is my hope that I would achieve this role. And the reason that I'd hope for it really is because of the opportunity it would give to travel up and down the country, go to as many shows and sales as possible, and be an ambassador for the breed, and to share my enthusiasm and my love for the breed. And that's something that I think I can do moderately well. Those opportunities have been sadly limited. So I would say that the absolute highlight of my time as chairman was actually the Welsh Winter Fair, which year before last, which was an opportunity to do just that, to man the stand and to encourage people into our breed and to welcome other breeders who are already in the breed onto the stand. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed that time. And I'm really, really sorry that we haven't had much of a repeat of that since, or any at all, in fact.
Well, obviously, particularly the last year, we're just over the year-long anniversary of the first lockdown due to COVID. How do you feel that has affected the society?
Well, it's been challenging, and I think it would be right at this point to say how fortunate we are in the breed to have the staff that we have, who have been absolutely amazing for us in what have been some quite difficult times. We've tried to keep the office manned as much as possible, but within the guidance given down by the government and the insurance companies and so on. So we've had a rota, and a lot of people have been working from home, and some have needed to work from home, and some have really wanted to get out a little bit more and back into the office. The staff have just been amazing in how they've managed what has been quite a difficult time. So from an office perspective, that's been interesting and challenging. Obviously, we've had problems with some of the sales, whether they were going to go ahead and whether we weren't at the time, and trying to plan for that as the whole COVID thing sort of evolved. We've had the advent of online sales a little bit more. And I think even when we come back from COVID and go back to hopefully something closer to normality, I think we'll see online sales being, or hybrid sales where there are online parts of it. I think we'll see those staying and probably increasing in the future.
Well, that's really, I think everybody really hopes that we are beginning to see some light at the end of the tunnel now with the success of the vaccination program. But what do you see as your hopes for the future, or the society's hopes for the future? Where do you see the society going in the future, and where's the focus going to be?
Well, I think we're going to face a challenging time as suckler producers in the UK. I think there are a lot of pressures on our industry which aren't going to go away, whether you like it or agree with it or not. The Green Lobby are happy to announce that we're the source of all evil in the world. The vegans and vegetarians are happy to jump on that bandwagon and use that as another stick to beat us with. But the truth, as always, is far more nuanced. Now, British suckler producers are amongst the most carbon efficient there are in the world. We've seen data to that effect, and it's not fair to beat the British suckler producers with the same stick as being used in perhaps Amazonian cattle and some of the feedlot cattle in the States. Having said that, we need to progress, and we need to move forward, and we need to become more efficient. Now, as direct payments, single farm payments are taken away and replaced with green payments is the way that it looks like going, the focus will be on efficiency. And in order to become more efficient, what you have to do is measure how efficient you are today, find ways of improving, and then measure again tomorrow and make progress. Now, I think as a breed, we are in a particularly strong position here. There was some data put out by David Mackenzie of Harbour about a year or two ago, where he pointed out that to get 30 kilos of growth at 6 months in a standard beef animal, standard average, you need 90 kilos of feed. To get the same 30 kilos of growth at 17 months, you need 260 kilos of feed. What that points towards is earlier finishing cattle, less of a maintenance requirement, lower carbon footprint, better for the environment. Now, Charolais are absolutely prime position here. We know that we can finish animals earlier. We have slaughter data that shows we can hit spec earlier than any other breed. What we have to do is find a way of communicating that to our customers, whether they be the supermarkets, the restaurants, or the commercial buyers, to show that we can do this job better than anyone else. We can have a lower carbon footprint. When the supermarkets, they're aiming to go carbon neutral by 2030 on average, a lot of the chain restaurants will be the same. When those buyers are looking for ways to lower their carbon footprint, we want them to be able to point at Charolais and say, if we buy Charolais beef, then our carbon footprint will be lower. And so that is both the challenge and the opportunity for us as a breed over the next few years, is to measure increasingly more accurately so that we can win these arguments, because these are the arguments that will help us prosper as a breed.
A lot to look forward to there, I think, Ben. And finally, some words of advice for Alan, who takes over the reins from you in June.
Alan definitely doesn't need any of my advice, because he's quite a remarkable human as far as I'm concerned. Alan is a very, very straight, honest, brave, well-respected breeder. He's been an absolute pleasure to have alongside me in council. He always has a very straightforward and correct opinion on things, in my view. I think he'll do wonders as chairman for the next couple of years. Every chairman brings something different. And I've been lucky enough to serve under some wonderful chairmen over the last few years. Chris Curry and Alistair Houston, amongst others, who have, in their different ways, have done the job so well, so beautifully. And Alan, in his way, will step up to that mark and exceed it. I'm really looking forward to at least for 1 year, sitting in council alongside him and watching him do his work.
That's great. Lovely. Well, thank you very much for talking to me this morning, Ben. And I hope the members and Facebook followers enjoy listening to our conversation today.
Sarah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for using it.